This lecture, we shall be looking at the effects of human activities on the environment. We're going to look at a series of activities that have been carried out by human beings and the effects such activities has on the environment. So we're starting with the depletion of stratospheric ozone. Ozone is a gas present throughout the Earth's atmosphere. It actually protects life on Earth, that is, the organisms that are on Earth, from the harmful rays that comes from the sun. You see, the rays that comes from the sun contains ultraviolet A, that we call UVA, and ultraviolet B, that we call UVB. What it does, what this does is, that is what this ozone does, is that it absorbs this violence, because this ultraviolet A and B, they're harmful to the life on Earth. So these rays, they have to pass through the upper atmosphere. The upper atmosphere that they pass through is referred to as the stratosphere. So what the stratosphere do is that it will absorb them, preventing them from reaching the air, so that they are not going to harm the life or the organisms that are there. So ozone tends to cause harm at the Earth's surface. So it's normally said that ozone is good up there, but it's harmful, down here. That is, it's harmful to the organisms, but up there in the upper atmosphere, it is good because it's absorbed, it's absorbed those chemicals or those rays that's supposed to come to the earth and destroy the organisms there. So the stratospheric ozone is the protective ozone layer that shields the organisms from the harmful ultraviolet radiation. Ozone is important. Actually, it is important in the provision of or the balancing of the energy, the atmospheric energy. We're talking about the natural ozone now. Now, we have certain human activities that can destroy this ozone layer, that can destroy the stratospheric layer. Example of such the release of halogen, like that gotten into the atmosphere through gases like gases from the chlorofluorocarbons that are normally referred to as CFCs. We have the halogens that are normally from our fire extinguishers. We have the carbon tetrachloride. We have the methyl chloroforms. We have the methyl bromide. These chemicals are used in different for different purposes. Like we have some that are used in refrigeration and air conditioning. This one is common with the chlorofluorocarbons. We have the halogens. They are used especially in fire extinguishing. So we have the methyl chloroforms and the carbon tetraes. They are usually from mostly from the production or the feedstocks. That is where we have agriculture, the keeping of animals. And we have aerosol sprays like this ones, the tetra carbons from the aerosol sprays. We have these tetracarbons in them that are usually from the personal cares and our cares. That is our personal things we use for our personal cares, for our hair cares, for deodorant and all those stuff. The stratospheric layer becomes thinner when these chemicals are released into the atmosphere and they make their ways into the upper atmosphere. These substances, they are referred to as ozone depleting substances. And so when they are released, they make their ways to the upper atmosphere. And when they make their ways to the upper atmosphere, they gradually reduces the layer of the stratospheric atmosphere there. So the level of the ozone layer begins to drop, and the Earth's surface begin to receive more intakes, that is, begin to receive more of the rays coming from the sun. So we have the ultraviolet A from the sun reaching the Earth more, The same thing with the ultraviolet B reaching the Earth more through the ozone layer, because this layer is now thinner than it is expected. When the ultraviolet ray reaches the Earth more than it is expected, it causes the skin aging, wrinkling of the skin, the destruction of the collagen fibers. Collagen fibers are present on our skin, and sometimes they cause cancer. Then you have the UVB causes skin cancer, causes a premature aging, destroys the eye, and can cause cataract. Then it prevents or suppress, reduces the immune system. When we say immune system, that is the ability of human body to be able to fight against diseases. It also affects the physiological and the developmental processes of plants. That is the way the plants grow and develop. When we have those substances being released into the atmosphere, the ozone depletion substances being being released into the atmosphere, we now have the ozone layer being reduced, and you have the ultraviolet rays reaching the heart. So as they reach the heart, they destroy or affect the physiological and the developmental processes of plants, reduces, and when these are affected, when the processes are affected, the plants will not be able to grow well, and so it reduces the crop yield and weaken the trees indirectly. That shows or that leads to reduced food production. Then it also damages the aquatic organisms, especially the tiny ones that are referred to as phytoplanktons. Phytoplanktons in aquatic environment, they are producers. They are very small. In most cases, they are found on the surface of the aquatic environment. They are able to grab the sunlight to be able to carry out photosynthesis, so in order to produce food for the aquatic environment. But when you have the ozone layer being depleted by these substances, these aquatic organisms are destroyed, they are damaged, and it also affects food production and biodiversity. Uh, Biodiversity means having different organisms. So when we have this one, we don't have different organisms again, because some organisms must have been destroyed and killed, like in the example of aquatic organisms that I've given. Then another thing is that the ozone depleting substances, they also affect they affect the atmosphere, and by shifting the weather and the wind patterns. What happens is that the ozone loss, when there is ozone loss, for example, at the uh, Antarctica pole. Antarctica pole is the southern part, the southern pole. So you have cold air. Cold air will begin to blow above the South Pole, and so it begins to have, you have the air shifting towards the pole, and it moves further towards the pole. And when this one happens, it changes the rainfall pattern in the part of the southern hemisphere. Then there is more thinning of the ozone layer towards the polar region than towards the uh, equator. That is, the countries that are very close to the polar region, they receive the effect of ozone layer depletion more than the ones that are closer to the equator. Now, let's look at global warming, the activities that are carried out by human beings that causes global warming. Well, the first thing you have is that it's global warming is what do we mean global warming? This is a rapid increase in Earth's average surface temperature for a very long period. That is, you have an increase in the temperature for a very long time. That means the temperature continues to increase for a very long time. So when we have this one, we refer to that as global warming. And these are caused by certain human activities that releases this human activities release certain gases into the atmosphere that we refer to as greenhouse gases. The greenhouse gases that are released that can cause global warming include carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, methane, chlorofluorocarbons, then water vapor. Human activities that can cause global warming, that is, that can cause the emission of these greenhouse gases, They include the burning of fossils. Nowadays, we have burning fossil for fuels, especially for the generation of electricity. So as long as this one is being carried out, as long as we have burning of fossil fuels, we have carbon dioxide being emitted into the atmosphere. Then deforestation. Deforestation actually means cutting down of forests. When we have cutting down of forests, especially in the case of urbanization, we have a situation where carbon dioxide will be reduced, will be more. Carbon dioxide will be more in the atmosphere because the plants that are supposed to take carbon dioxide up for photosynthesis, they won't be there again. So carbon dioxide will now be present more in the atmosphere. Then agriculture. When we talk about agriculture, most farms where you have livestock practices, that is rearing of animals. We eat turkey, we eat chicken, all these stuffs, they are being raised as livestock by livestock animal, I mean farmers. And especially when you talk about cows and sheep, where you have these ones being this type of farming taking place, this type of farming practices taking place, we have a large amount of maintained and nitrous acid being released or emitted into the atmosphere. And so these ones can cause the depletion or they can increase the temperature of the atmosphere and thereby causing a global warming. Then we have certain industrial processes that can cause global warming, increase in the emission of these gases, like in the manufacturing of cement companies, that is, companies where cement is being manufactured, you have greenhouse gases like a nitrogen oxide, carbon dioxide, sulfur oxide, methane being released. In iron and steel companies, you have carbon oxide, nitrous oxide, and methane being released. Then you have in plastic product companies, you have gases like carbon dioxide, methane, ethylene, nitrous oxide, and fluorinated gases being released into the atmosphere. So as long as these processes continue with the industries, as long as they are producing these products, we have these different compounds being released into the atmosphere and thereby causing a global warming. When they cause global warming, they have certain parts, that is, certain impacts that you have on the global climate. First, you have a rapid global warming, that is, global warming continue to increase at a very faster rate. Then we have atmospheric changes. The atmosphere changes. You can really predict the atmosphere again. Then we have acidification of the ocean, that is the presence of more acid in the ocean. Then we have extreme weather. When we say extreme weather, that is where the sun is high, or maybe when the sun is too high, or the rain is too much, or the snow is too much, the cold is too much. So these are what we have when you know, we have this gas is being released into the atmosphere. Now, what were the international movements on the ozone layer depletion? Because the ozone layer depletion is not relative to a particular country, it is global. So in 1985, there was a convention in Vienna, Austria, on ozone layer depletion. What the convention was about. The convention brought about so many countries, about 197 countries. The first thing was to acknowledge that there is a threat, that is, there's a threat about the depletion of the ozone layer. And with the threat, the countries had to agree that there's a threat. They had to agree that there are some products that are being produced that are emitting this ozone layer depletion substances. So the convention, the countries that are present in the convention, they agreed that there was a threat. Then, then in 1987, there was another convention. This convention was named the Montreal Protocol, and this was centered on environmental actions. That is, the actions that are supposed to be taken in order to find solution to the ozone layer depletion. So the convention successfully phased out some 98% of ozone depletion substances legally. So what was agreed upon was that most of the products from different companies that are producing this ozone layer depletion substances were it was legally agreed that is either the products are stopped, the companies or the industries stopped the production of the substances, or in another way, they find some other substances that could be useful in the production of this product so that it's not going to affect the environment. Thank you for listening.